You may have heard their story on Good Morning America, The Today Show, The Ellen DeGeneres Show, or other places. Todd and Tara Storch and their 3 children had just begun their family trip of a lifetime, skiing in Colorado. However, on their very first day on the slopes, every parent's worst nightmare came true as their 13-year-old daughter, Taylor, was tragically killed in a skiing accident. Their story is courageously told in the book, Taylor's Gift, and it's a privilege to spend a few minutes with them now. Great to have you guys with us. Thank you.
Thank you for letting us be here.
Now, as parents, you know, we can't even begin to imagine. So just take us back to that family trip, March of 2010.
Yeah, it seems like yesterday. It seems like another world ago. It was the most fantastic trip. Family trip, we're all going skiing. I mean, we were having such a fun time. We planned out the road trip.
There's a picture of that.
That is actually that ski trip.
That's the day, and it was day one. It was day one. We got the kids out of ski school, and Peyton, our youngest, that you saw there, she was tired and didn't want to ski anymore, and Tara was just fine with that. And so Ryan and Taylor and I went off for one last run, and they couldn't be more excited. It was so much fun seeing brother and sister to ski, and did the whole last run, and I'm the typical dad. I'm taking photographs and videoing as we go down, and we're at the very, very last run of the day, and we head off, and Taylor kind of slipped, and from that went into the trees, and that's where the accident happened, and Ryan and I were there, and so the most wonderful trip turned into an absolute nightmare in a second. Yeah.
So at that moment, how did she get from there then to the hospital, and were there vital signs, or what happened?
It was it was a whirlwind. I mean, my son and I were there, and as a father, I was, you're in safety mode, you're in my son's right here with me mode. The ski patrol came down immediately, and so I was literally helping, the ski patrol get Taylor onto the gurney and the snowmobile. We immediately came down, saw Tara and Peyton, and had to say, we're headed to the hospital, there's been an accident. Raced us to the hospital. They're in Vail, and most of us have all been in hospitals. You know what that's like, just craziness. And it wasn't long where they said, we've got a situation that we can't handle here. We have to care flight her. And originally she was going to go to Denver. We were going to go to Denver, but the weather was poor, and so they couldn't take the helicopter to Denver, and so we went to Grand Rapids. And
it was a 2.5-hour drive for us.
So they care flighted Taylor. We were on a 2.5-hour ride in the van to get to the hospital. It was the worst 2.5 hours ever.
At this point, were you aware that it was actually life-threatening, or were you thinking maybe she had a broken leg and they will resuscitate her and things will be fine?
We knew she was unconscious. And when we saw her in Vail, when we came around her, her blood pressure raised up, so we felt like there was signs of life. So we had immediate hope. You immediately go there. You don't want to go to the other side of that.
Right.
So you go to the side of everything's going to be okay. We can deal with this. But you always have that swirling thought of what if? But you really fight that off. So we got to Grand Junction, and the orthopedic surgeon, they immediately had her in surgery, and so he came out and told us that she had broken her leg, broken her collarbone, fractured her C7, broken her jaw. I mean, he started labeling all these things. And our immediate thought was, oh, she's going to be so sad about volleyball.
She's a big volleyball player.
Huge
tournament coming up.
Right. Oh, she's so disappointed.
She was a 13-year-old girl with a very full life.
Very full life.
Very full.
Yes.
And so our question was, how long will it be till she can play volleyball again? And he said, that's the least of your worries right now. And so we knew it was going to be a lot worse than we expected, but always had this glimmer of hope. Everything's going to be fine. We'll handle it.
We can do this.
We can do this.
So it wasn't too long after that actually your brother showed up. He's a doctor, your oldest brother. He drove how long to get to the hospital?
He actually caught a flight.
Caught a flight.
He caught a quick flight from a friend who was a pilot, and the weather happened to actually open up in a complete clear path to Grand Junction. And he got there, and bless his heart, he was playing the role of uncle and brother and brother-in-law and doctor. he was playing all these roles at the same time.
He was your liaison with all the other doctors.
Absolutely.
He understood the doctor speak.
He totally understood, and we wanted him to fix it. You know, and that was a hard thing to put on him.
So at what point did the news finally come to you?
I remember when we were studying with that orthopedic surgeon, and I'm thinking through volleyball. You know, when is she going to get to play again? This is her life. And he said, that's your last worries. And I looked at him. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And I said, are we dealing with a life and death situation here? And I couldn't even believe I was saying those words outside of my mouth. And he just, he looked at me and he just said, you're going to need to discuss that with a neurosurgeon. So,
But you need to prepare yourself for that.
But you need to prepare yourself. Neurosurgeon, we have that meeting, and that's when we knew it was bad. It was really bad, and you looked at her and just said, am I going to lose my daughter? And so that's when the reality of what we truly were facing hit us, and
it was a crushing blow.
Absolutely.
Todd and Tara, I have to tell you, and I mentioned this to you already. Thank you for being so real and candid in this book and sharing with the reader so many parts, so many intimate details of what you were going through as a mother, how you were thinking as a father, when you were walking through those first initial few hours in the hospital with Taylor. She was, still on the ventilator, that you hadn't received the final word that yes, she's gone actually. You were so real. And even, I know Ron was reading something that you wrote, Todd, that was kind of surprising.
Well, you had some initial thoughts there when you realized that this is it, and she's gone. And share with us what was going through your mind as an initial reaction.
Having some time to reflect on that a little bit, I really think it was my version of what hell would be. I mean, to be quite honest, my first thought was, I could run from this. I can get away. I traveled. I mean, my job took me all over the country, and I loved my job, and I had a big meeting. I had to travel after the spring break, and I started fantasizing. I started thinking about, I could go out to San Francisco, and I've got a 3-day trip. I can make that a week. Well, then I could postpone it. Maybe it's 2 weeks. And then I started thinking, I can run away. I can get away from all of this and disappear. And I don't know how long my mind went there, or how long Satan was picking at me. And I realized at that moment what I would be giving up, to be separated, from true love, to be completely separated, and realized that, and Bill was sitting right there.
Your brother-in-law.
Yeah, Tara's brother, Bill, that you talked about. And I looked right at him and I said, I have to hold you accountable, Bill. And he's like, okay, to what? I said, you have to be there for me. I'm going to make some choices when we come back from this. I'm either going to want to destroy the world, or I'm going to want to save it. And I have to stay on the good side. And that was just literally a God moment where I was able to recognize what I was seeing and made a choice. I didn't know it at the time, but was able to make a choice with God's help to just say, help.
And that choice has now extended to what you're doing now.
No, we had a choice. I mean, his grandfather had always told him, it's not what happens to you that matters, it's how you react to it that does. And we had a choice. We're either going to follow God and follow the good, or we're going to crave up in the grief of it all, which is very dark and a cold place to be. And so we did have a choice.
The doctors came to you when it was a realization that she's gone, that and asked you a very difficult question, and that's where you started to grapple with this. And what was that?
The question was, is that she's a beautiful candidate to be an organ donor. Would you consider it? And we have never been a family that had ever discussed it. We never sat around the dinner table and this was part of our conversation. But we knew out of the hardest decisions we were making, this was the easiest. It was the type of child she was. She was such a giving, faithful, other-centered child. We knew this was the right choice and something she would have wanted.
It was the easiest decision in the worst of moments. And
so
for us to be almost organ donor advocates now, where literally we had no conversations about it. And that's one of the things that we feel is truly a part of our mission now, is that it needs to be a conversation. It's just as simple as, you know, planning a will or having a discussion about life insurance, or, you know, what are we doing to make great decisions when we live throughout our day? I mean, it's a part of conversation.
And so Taylor's Gift is not only the name of the book,
Right.
it's the name of your organization.
That's right.
That's right.
Taylor's Gift Foundation. .org, taylorsgift.org, if you want to go online, and I encourage you to do that. But another part of the book, which I want to encourage our viewers to get a copy of this book. I cried my way through it.
It's on our e-store. If you're wondering, it is on our Crossroads e-store. It just came out yesterday.
Yesterday,
just hot off the press.
But part of the book is you tell the story not only of Taylor's tragic death, but also of the lives of a few others who were on the organ donor list, waiting for an organ, what their lives were like before Taylor's Gift came into their lives, and what their lives were like after. You've got the nurse, the cowboy, the teenager, and the bike rider. I love that. Tell us about Patricia.
Patricia Winters has our daughter's heart, and it's very odd to say, but it's our reality, and we adore her. Yes, we love her.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
And what this has done for us, people have asked, we've connected with 4 out of the 5 recipients, which is very rare, and we don't take that for granted. We know it's a blessing from God. But people ask us all the time, it's got to give you some peace to have connected with the recipients, like, oh, it's kind of all come full circle, you're all better now, and you know, it never gives us peace to meet the recipients of Taylor's organs, because we'll never be at peace with losing Taylor, I don't think. But it does give us so much strength that the decision we made was so much purpose within the pain. It was the right thing to do for our family.
And so the foundation was formed because you realized, you saw the hope it brought to others, and you're saying a lot more people could do this. This is a way that you know, Taylor can continue to bless others.
That's right.
Through
we all
this
have
foundation.
this gift within. We all have the ability to outlive ourselves.
And I assume blue was her favorite color, this shade of blue that you have on your bracelets and on your nail polish.
Was this the color of her eyes?
It was the color of her eyes.
She had the most stunning eyes.
She had beautiful eyes, and she had a nice conversation with you. You guys were talking about marriage, and of course I wanted her to be, you know, married. No,
Just a few weeks before the accident, she had told me that that's the color she wanted her bridesmaids' dresses when the day. And so
matched her eyes.
It matched her eyes, and so that will always be precious to us.
Absolutely.
Always.
So on your website, taylorsgift.org, people can go kind of through, they can click on something that says, yeah, I want to become an organ donor, and you can kind of walk them through some of those steps.
Yeah, the engine of our foundation will always be to increase organ donation. And so for the Canadian audience, I mean, if you just click on register, I mean, taylorsgift.org, click on register to be an organ donor, you're going to see an international section. And so all the provinces, they're all listed right there. And so, you know, for Ontario, have your health card, click on it. For other ones, just get the information. It takes so little time to make that decision. And that's where we're headed.
And I just wanted to say quickly, the fingernail polish is not just a nice fashion statement, but you have a movement called Paint It Forward.
We do.
As well. And it's like pay it forward.
That's exactly right.
Paint it forward.
Right.
You can find all about that on the website, and the book Taylor's Gift, as I mentioned, is on our e-store. You can read about it and be inspired. Todd and Tara, we're going to have you back.
We will definitely have you back. There's so
to
much
tell
more to talk
more
about
your story.
We'd like that.
But